staining his armpits. Harold had been 30 years old when he had taken the job as assistant head of security at Down East Power. Then he was a rising star, known for his hard work and diligence, even if he wasn't exactly a genius. He'd moved to Maine from New York and almost immediately had begun dating Janice. 1 year later they had gotten married, and he was on top of the world. Of course, he reflected bitterly, when you're on top, there's only one way to go, and not too many years later he had indeed found himself on the downward slope. Day by day, his bureaucratic job seemed to mire him in longer and longer hours of tedium, while night by night he seemed to be losing his wife. They had not made love in 3 years, a sad situation that Harold was certain represented a failing on his part. But that was about to change, because he was not going to be a doormat anymore. First, he was going to uncover the creeping evil in his workplace, and then he would confront his wife about her infidelities. His blood was racing in his veins, the adrenaline rush reminding him of being young and taking chances. For the first time in many years, Harold felt that he was taking a real step toward turning his life around. He had worn skin-tight latex gloves for the job, and they made it easier to flip through the pages and pages in the files. He was looking through one of the most recent safety inspections, this one from just a few months previous, when he heard the whisper of cloth on cloth and turned his head. And then he heard nothing at all. It would not be the fall followed by the cold shock of water, nor the blow to the back of his head that would kill him. It would be those gloves, wrapped tightly around his throat, that accomplished the grisly task. Death would find him next to a file cabinet in the early morning hours in the records department of Down East Power, the nuclear power plant. His body would be found elsewhere. Harold Dumphy had finally taken a stand. Chapter 1. Damn! Goff Langdon cursed under his breath at the harsh sound of his alarm. His ex-wife had compared this very noise to a garbage truck backing through the bedroom at 5 a.m. When properly riled, Amanda would draw this metaphor in great detail, the churning wheels, clanging metal, and general all-around torment that had become the room they shared. It crossed Langdon's mind from time to time that all of his marital difficulties could be traced to this simple clock, and that he should have gotten rid of it long ago. But he also knew that was pretty much crap. And besides, he was partial to the digital timekeeper. Though his wife had left him 6 months earlier and wouldn't be haranguing him over the blaring alarm, the momentary peace was shattered by the arrival of another creature, quite ecstatic for the new day. Langdon reflexively covered his face as a dark shadow came flying through the air with an eager whine and a clack of nails on the edge of the bed, just before burying him in a tsunami of fur and wet tongue kisses. "Coffee dog, get off me, you worthless mutt," Langdon said with a groan. "Enough." He wrestled with the canine, trying to pin him to escape the tongue-lapping, and as the dog twisted loose, Langdon rolled away into the clear and felt nothing for a brief moment before the floor came rushing up to meet him. This entire early morning ritual, from the still clanging alarm clock to the all-star canine wrestling, had taken no more than 15 seconds, but already the downstairs neighbors were banging on their ceiling, his floor. Langdon never knew just how the beans could get a stick into position so quickly, unless of course they waited, poised for the opportunity. With a deft movement that bespoke of years of experience, Langdon, or maybe it was the dog, unplugged the clock and the infernal noise ceased. Langdon lay without moving, as did Coffee Dog, whose teeth remained clasped around his master's earlobe for almost a minute before Langdon conceded defeat. Okay, I'll give you the canned food for breakfast." With one final wrench, Coffee Dog twisted the man's head to prove his superiority, and then raced to the kitchen, his butt wiggling in anticipation of the breakfast to come. Into this calm in the eye of the storm came the sudden ring of the phone. Both man and beast froze, for this was truly a strange occurrence. There weren't many calls interrupting them these days, not unless, of course, it was one of those infernal sales machines.